Oceania time.
All right, welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast, guys. As always, joined by my co-host Isaiah and Dante. This awesome Thursday evening, we're wrapping up some Genesis picks and getting right into our interview with bagger Pat Webster. What an awesome story he's got to tell everyone from down there at Pinehurst. Guys, who do you got this week for the Genesis?
I don't know. There's so many to choose from. How
It
do
is
you
a
choose just
star-studded
one?
field, right?
I've chosen Spieth a couple times so far, so I'm not going to go with Spieth this week, even though he did just give that little backdoor top 10 at Pebble.
I was gonna say you're hanging him up on the rack to dry when he's finally starting to pull through.
Yep. Done. Over.
Hanging up the gloves.
I'm going with Johnny Vegas this week.
Whoa.
Going with Vegas.
I like that. I like you gonna roll a little dice, throw some crap shoots for the Vegas man this week?
Might as well. I'm going to. For sure. So I got Vegas. Dante,
he's a long ball hitter. I like that pick.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting because I think a lot of guys are going to be, we're in LA playing for, a lot of guys are representing Kobe Bryant as he rests in peace, and Gianna and the rest of the families there. So I know Harold Varner III is rocking some sick gear. He's got some custom Jordans and some custom head covers. So I know he's going to be playing his heart out there. But I don't know. I want to go with him because, I'm always rooting for my shorter guys on tour. But I don't know. I think JT is out for revenge. I know he was coming down the stretch last year and kind of threw it away. And based on some of the recent posts and how he's buddy with people, but when he has out on the course, he wants to basically end your golfing career. I think he's definitely going to come out for revenge and make a mark. So I'm going to go with JT.
Good pick.
That's a great pick. I think he got a little not robbed, but he just couldn't close last year, shooting 4 under in the final round. So, JB Holmes kind of coming out of nowhere too, and finishing things off after that kind of collapse Justin had last week. So, I think that's a great pick. And he's already playing phenomenal this year, just knocking down leaderboards kind of every time he plays. So I really love that. A pick I think that I'm just going to have to take because I just feel like, the UCLA kid is going to play well in LA and represent his hometown pretty much. I'm going with Patrick Cantlay this week.
Okay. Man, I haven't seen him on a leaderboard in a minute, though. Are you sure about that?
Oh, dude, 100%. You want me to run through some of his previous finishes, or is that
he has played well, consistently well there. So that's a solid pick for the week. I just mean in the grand scheme of things, this past year, he was only on 2, maybe 3 leaderboards for Radar, at least that I had seen.
Hey, I'm running you through here. ATT, Pebble Beach Pro-Am, T11, Century Tournament of Champions, 4, Hero World Challenge, 17th, Shriners, back in the fall in October, T2, Safeway, T40. So, he's making cuts. The kid's steady. He's at least going to give a run at it this week, I think. He finished T20 last year here. So, I don't know. I like the kid. He's got a solid game. Always a great putter of the ball, and I think you got to putt well here. So should be interesting to see this week. There's a lot of big names stacked in the field. Recently dethroned ex-world number 1 Brooks Koepka in the field. New number 1 Rory McIlroy in the field. Quite possibly the hottest golfer on the planet every time he tees it up lately, Tiger Woods. How did none of us pick him?
Yeah, I was expecting you to, Dalton.
Well,
I thought you had Tiger for sure. I'm
glad
to hear Cantlay.
The way he was bringing that out, I was like, he's going Tiger for sure.
I'm a big fan of history, and Tiger hasn't won there in 13 years. Every time he's teed it up there, so there's just something about this course that he just doesn't win at. He contends, he just doesn't win here.
I just think it takes him a few rounds in tournaments to get into the swing of things. Because come Masters time and that little stretch there, basically major season, he's in full swing. I think he's got to knock off some rust or loosen that back up.
I think it is too. This is his tournament. He's hosting it. There's so much obligation as a tournament host to be running around and fulfilling, media time here, dinner engagements here and there. It's like as a tournament host, it's almost like it's just too much to do and try and win a tournament. It's just why I didn't go with him. Do I think it's any shade on what I think he's going to do in 2020? Absolutely not. I think he's going to have a hell of a year. But I'm waiting to stage my pick for him as a winner this year for the first time a little later in the year.
Yeah, that's fair. I can appreciate that. But, in the spirit of all things, Kobe and Mamba mentality, if there's any player that's ever displayed sort of the quintessential the spirit of the Mamba mentality, I don't think anyone would argue with me saying that Tiger Woods definitely displays the Mamba mentality and has had displayed that for many years.
I couldn't agree more. I think, you look at some of the greats when you're talking about like transcending their generation of a sport. You look at Michael Jordan. You look at who looked up to him. Kobe and Tiger looked up to the way MJ approached the game. And then, as they were kind of coming of age, Tiger talked about it, after his final round at Torrey when the media let Tiger know really about Kobe Bryant's unfortunate tragedy. And Tiger spoke about, them kind of coming up together and, they both found fame around the same time and they kind of leaned on each other, not heavily. They weren't the bestest of friends, but when they did hang out, it was always like great recognizing great and understanding that they could each learn from each other in a way to kind of build their own. Because, you look at two guys that just mental willpower kind of are just the best mental players in their own perspective sport. I think it's Kobe in basketball and it's obviously Tiger in golf. So yeah, I think you're spot on making that comparison.
Yeah.
So
for sure,
guys. I hope you guys enjoy and get to watch some golf this weekend. I know it's not looking kind of great weather-wise for us up here on the East Coast. I don't know what you're looking like down there in Georgia, Logue, but it looks like prime golf watching weather for us here.
Yeah, should be great to watch. Not so much to play.
Friday night, a low of 15.
Yeah.
In Jersey.
Yeah, the Eastern Shore is looking like 19, so it ain't too much better. So, guys, bunker down, get your chips and dip, whatever you might like to feed on, and just sit back and enjoy some really good golf from an awesome venue out there at the Genesis and Riviera Country Club. That's pretty much it from us. I would like to thank our sponsors before we get into the episode here with Pat Webster. Shout out to Saltwater Swag at Saltwater Swag MD on Instagram for pumping out all these awesome shirts and all of our merch. She's just a wonderful person to work with. And if you guys need any kind of custom, whether it's t-shirts, polos, hats, logos, on any kind of apparel, really, just reach out to her. She can do some awesome work for you guys. And also shout out to our newest podcast sponsor, Slope Grade. Jeff Mosini from Slope Grade is kind enough to jump on with us and be an awesome contributor to this podcast. We met him down at the show in Orlando, debuting his awesome product, as I said, Slope Grade. So really appreciate his contribution to the podcast, and we look forward to working with him in the future. If you haven't caught his episode, go back and listen to our episode where we interview him and tell his story of why he got into the game and what made him come upon his newest product, Slope Grade. In that episode, he does mention that all Enjoy the Walk listeners, if you enter Enjoy the Walk at checkout for Slope Grade, will get 10% off. So please go check out Slope Grade, www.slopegrade.com. That's SLOPEGRAIDE.com. Enter Enjoy the Walk at checkout and get 10% off. So, guys, that's our sponsors. We're really, really appreciative of all their support and all of your support. So without further ado, let's get into our interview with the Bagger at Bagger_24, Pat Webster. Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast, guys. Pretty sweet episode this week. Kicking it on the Caddie theme this week, guys. Tuesday we had, the Golf Hawk Caddie out in the West Coast. So we're bringing you some East Coast swag this week from down in the land of, Hidden Valley, would you say, down in the North Carolina Pinehurst area. Pat Webster, or as the guys know out in that Instagram life, the Bagger 24, man. Thanks for joining us this week. How's it going?
Dude, fellas, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
No doubt, man. So, I mean, right off the bat, I got to ask you, how's the Pinehurst life, and what the hell brought you to being a caddy at one of the most prestigious resorts in the country?
Man, it's honestly, it's a crazy story, dude. Honestly, like, I actually started in the dark side. I was the manager sort of things. I was trying to be the guy kind of behind the scenes in the office, and found out real quick that just prior military service, just who I am naturally, that I was not meant to be in the office. And I just got naturally the ability to get along with people from around the world, man. And then before you knew it, man, I wound up back in North Carolina, back in Pinehurst, man. My family's all from here, so it made sense, raising my son with my fiance and everything. It just made sense, dude. In Pinehurst, I mean, it's unreal, man. I mean, we got a pretty great gig out here. I can't really lie.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. From what we see you post and other guys, kind of in your area, us guys up here in the Northeast struggling with this cold weather are always jonesing to get out when we see you guys playing just about every day in, December and January and February.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. Hey, I got to throw a big shout out. My Fairland, Maryland boy, Salisbury, that kind of tie there.
Repping that Maryland flag for those YouTube watchers. You got to rep that Salisbury, Maryland life.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, I don't miss that weather up there. That's a fact.
Yeah, now it's a little southern for me, and I know Isaiah and I grew up in southern Pennsylvania, so it's south for me comparably to where I grew up, but not near south enough. That's for sure. So yeah, let's you mentioned a little bit there your prior military. What branch of military did you serve in, and how long ago was that, and did that take you anywhere within other places in the country other than North Carolina?
Oh man, honestly, that's about 90% why I joined, really. And I was in the Marine Corps, and yeah, I honestly spent that was from 2008 till about 2012-ish, and I was in Okinawa mostly the whole time, man. It was a blast. You name a country in Asia, I've been there. My soul might be a little bit, who knows? But it was a blast, man. I just got to go all over. I had the opportunity to just meet just any culture you could possibly want. That is just unreal. And for me, I love Asian food and culture and sushi, so it made sense.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I got a future brother-in-law that's actually in the Marine Corps now. He's stationed in Okinawa. He'll be there for another 3 years.
I'm praying for him.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't get coronavirus or any of that nonsense. Jacob, I hope you stay safe over there. But in your time there, what was your, say, a favorite restaurant or a place to stop in? I know you mentioned, sushi being great.
Yeah, oh, yeah. All right. So, yeah, man, I mean, anybody who ever, whether it's military or not, Okinawa is known for mostly the curry, their cocoa ichiban is what it's called.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That honestly, it was not my thing. Me, it was all about the taco cheese and rice. There's this little spot it's called Kintown. It's right outside the base of Camp Hansen on Okinawa, and that's a Marine Corps base. And it is honestly at 2 a.m. coming back from the bars with the boys, you stop in and you get 4 tacos, and then you get this whole thing of taco cheese and rice, and it's just this massive layer of just rice. The heaviest, greasiest hamburger you possibly think of, lettuce, cheese. I mean, and then it's like sriracha sauce. I'm telling
soul
you.
Food right there.
Oh, I'm trying to tell you, boys. And then the best part about it, you wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock for PT. The thing right in the microwave right before PT, you're good to go.
I think you touched a piece of Isaiah's heart there. You said hamburger, cheeseburger, what it may be, and that's what that boy loves to eat.
Check out my feed right there. Lover of burgers. Sir. There it is.
Love it.
That's awesome, and it's so cool because I have so many friends that have past military, whatever, and they always talk about the amazing not only culture but cuisine of the foreign countries that they get to go and spend time in. Obviously protecting us men and women here back at home, but you do get some free time to explore that kind of scene out there, and it's always, from what I hear, just such an amazing experience that is always a part of you after you come back.
It really is, man. And I mean, I'll be honest, like it was 100 miles an hour the entire time I was there. But when we did have time off, I mean, you name it, we went places. I mean, to the Okinawa Aquarium, which has like the biggest underwater aquarium in the world, and it's unreal. I mean, and you look at it, it's an entire like humpback whale in this aquarium. You know, it's crazy. And then we'll go to like the pineapple factory, where it's like this big pineapple factory where they got like 200 kinds of like pineapple and like exotic wines, stuff like that. It's just a big old tour. Like there's so much to do, and you really find time, and it definitely makes you appreciate the little things. I'll promise you that. Like just being away from something as simple as just, you know, walk outside your house and drive to, you know, a Wawa if that's your thing, or you know, just the simple things, man. It's just you miss them, and you take it for granted when you're away for that long, and especially away from your family. You really take everything for granted. It kind of puts it into perspective when you get back. And it's like, for me, especially like prior to the military and stuff like that, I really wasn't a family man. I was kind of my own thing, trying to make my own legacy, I guess. And when I got back, man, I just really had this urge to kind of let my family know that, hey, you know, I appreciate you, and you know, I never showed it when I was away, but you know, getting back was the most important thing to me. And like, now that I'm here, like, I want you all to understand that, like, you know, it's easier now to tell you than it was when I was gone. You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, yeah, perspective's everything, and it hits everyone a little differently, you know, whether
Agreed.
it's a life happening or, you know, you got to go away and serve your time or what it may be. Everyone, I feel like, has had that point in their lives where they're like, damn, you know, like, I really need to appreciate just a little more of what I really do got, because, you know, things could be a lot worse, or, you know, I'm really blessed with what I do have. So I think everyone can relate to that in their own, you know, way, shape, or form, however it may be.
100%.
Yeah. So now, did you get to play any golf while you were over there? Like, when did you become kind of an avid golfer? Was it after you got back, or as you were in the military, or even before?
I mean, I started playing when I was 13. Me and my buddy Cody, we started playing, you know, off and on with our dad and stuff, but never took it serious. I left, and he got real good. Obviously, he was always a natural knack for it. And I didn't play any when I was over in Japan, which is crazy, because now that I'm like so into this game and how much I love it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have got some euros for dirt cheap, or I could have done this, and I could have went here. And I will say though, when I was in Singapore, this was actually right before, I want to say, when that natural disaster, the tsunami, hit the reactors in Japan. I was actually there for that. Prior to that, we were in Singapore, and that was, I believe, the last year or the second to last year the Singapore Open was played out there. And I went to that, and I think the Tiger was in that field, and there was a couple other guys, and it was unreal. And that was like about a year prior to me getting out, and that was like the second I was like, all right, it's time. So I started pre-ordering golf clubs. I started having them sent home to my parents' house. I'm like, hey, just put these in the shed. I found a good deal on it. Just leave it there. So by the time I got back to the States, I had a full set of clubs, a bag, everything. It was ready to hit the ground running.
So the bug hit you just about when you were out, and you were hitting the ground running, like you said, when you were on the feet back in the States, ready to roll.
No doubt.
Man, that's awesome. That's so cool. Now, and it's funny to us too, because I think, you know, Dante picked it up a little later, but Isaiah and I maybe even take it for granted a little bit that we've been playing for so long, because, you know, we both picked the game up pretty young, but it always fascinates me to hear how people get into the game at a later age, or like really get into it seriously, you know, because like that creates the best stories. Like for most people that pick it up young, it's like, oh, well, my dad taught me, or my grandfather taught me. But then, like, you know, in your case or whatever it may be, it's always like the most intriguing stories, the people that pick it up later in life, because like something either drastic happened, or somebody just handed them a club and said, come on, man, you're coming and playing with me. And they just catch the little bug. And that's all it takes with this game to really become an addict.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that one, because Pat, I was kind of the same thing. It wasn't until about, you know, I had a club in my hand about 9 years old, but I would just play here and there with my dad. And then, you know, I did camps too. And honestly, I think when I was about in between 11 and 13, that was when I swung it best, because I did play one junior tournament, and I used to hit the ball dead straight. And when I had the set of junior clubs, until my dad was like, here, why don't you take this, you know, full set. But it wasn't until about maybe 5 years ago is when I really got into it, and basically am addicted, I guess you could say.
No,
But
I mean, we all know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Dante, I gotta stop for a second. This is the first time I ever heard you ever played a junior event. You gotta tell me a little more about that real quick.
You've been
So
holding out.
the only thing it's very, very foggy from what I remember, because it was actually when I lived in Virginia at the time. I lived right outside of Manassas, Virginia. Like the Northern Peak right there. And there was this 9-hole course that I used to take I did camps all the time. And the only thing I remember is I did play an event, and I guess I saw a video of Tiger Woods, and he was in the rough, and I guess he was just coming up and down just to kind of like really assess and really figure out what kind of shot he was going to play, because he was in the rough. And I remember I was in the rough too, and I was basically, golf idols here in a way, trying to copy exactly what Tiger Woods was doing.
As we all did as kids growing up.
Yeah,
So
no doubt.
goofy me is I have the club ground, and I put it in front of the ball, behind the ball, and then I'm like messing around with the ball, and I moved it a few times, and I had no idea. And then I swung and hit it. And then the guy who was walking with us to make sure that, we're keeping up with pace and, making sure our integrity was, on pace. And I guess he came up to me as, it's just a junior event. I'm not gonna, penalize you, but you're not supposed to do that. And man, did my heart just sink down to my stomach.
If someone would have came up to Patrick Reed when he was a junior player and only told him the same thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my story. That's what I remember. Yeah, it's very foggy.
I had to ask. I never knew you played junior golf, so that was interesting to know.
Yeah, but it's crazy because sometimes you think, dang, man, where would I be if I continued that? But then again, I wouldn't be here today where I'm at with the game, because you never know. I could have played from 9, 10, 11 all the way up until now, or even up to college, and just be completely burned out. And then I said, I had it with this game. I'm done.
Dude, that's honestly that's one thing. So I was a first tee and still dabbling for being a first tee coach up in Tanglewood. It's a golf course up in Clemens, North Carolina. And I'll be honest, man, even in my time in caddying during like U.S. teens and U.S. kids worlds and stuff, I see it so much, man. It's like these kids love this game, but by the time they're 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years old, they are so done and burnt out because these parents are so aggressive and expecting them to be pro by the time they're 12. And if they're not progressing like every other kid, then, they dump thousands of dollars into, lessons and just burning these kids out, man. And that's, again, for me, I always tell anybody, hey, like, let them have fun. When they come to you, the first time your kid comes to you and said, hey, mommy, daddy, will you take me to the range? That's when you know that kid is ready to accept the responsibility it takes to be good at this game.
Yeah, because they jumpstart that initiative to do it on their own. Because that's what it takes at the end of the day. There's no secret that this game is a very grueling game when it comes to getting really good professionally. So I mean, it's just hours and hours of work, and I think it's for any game really. And I see it whether it's golf or baseball or whatever kids on travel teams, whatever sport it is. It's so easy to get burnt out if you push kids into one sport solely. I'm a firm believer of just like the old school way of just play as many sports as you want. Just be an athlete at the end of the day and just have fun playing sports. And then, you get to that high school level and you say, wow, I'm doing maybe one or two better than the rest. Then, creep into specializing maybe. But, as a 7 or 8 year old, man, just let the kids play. Let them have fun.
I agree, man. It confuses me too, because you have all these sports analysts saying, and then you see all these like top athletes, and they were all multi-sport athletes when they were growing up. Yet for these kids who want to be able to play in college and have dreams of playing in the pros, their organizations are telling them, well, you have to do this 365, 24/7 in order to get there. But then you got analysts saying, be a tri-sport athlete.
Yeah.
confuses the hell out of me.
Yeah, A or B. There's no in between, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned a little bit there, which I'd love to get more into. You said you caddied at some like U.S. kids and stuff like that. What brought you into being a caddy, doing it full time, and what are some big events that you've been able to do on the caddy side of things?
Man, honestly, again, it was just I have an knack for just talking to people. That's the biggest thing for me as a caddy is I don't need to know everything. You know what I mean? I need to make sure they understand that, hey, I know you as a golfer and as a person. I've gotten to the point now where I know how to talk to you about your swing and not make you think that I expect you to make this perfect swing every single time like you're a tour player. Every single player in this world is different, man. So you always got to figure that out first and foremost. And then as far as like event wise, I mean, for me, I see obviously every year I hop in the men's and women's North-South. It's one of the oldest amateur tournaments in the history of really amateur golf. And it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of good players. You eventually see them to go on to do their thing in bigger events, which is pretty cool. I absolutely love the U.S. kids and U.S. teens, honestly, man. Like, you will get a mixed bag of answers if you ask 10 different caddies. I can guarantee you about 90% of those will say that they will avoid that at all costs. For me, though, I connect well with kids, especially on a golf course. I have a very inviting smile, I think, when it comes to, being on the golf course. And I know how to approach a kid when they make a bad shot and not make them feel like I expect better of them. I know how to have a good relationship with their parents, which I think is a big key role when it comes to playing, and especially those tournament style courses and events, stuff like that. And honestly, as far as my favorite that I've caddied in, I would say the Crew Cup. I think you all know that like the highlight of my year this past year was caddying for Jason Kidd. It was, ask any caddy that was in that event, we carried one bag that was a Vessel golf bag, which I say they are highly underrated. And it was honestly just a great event, man. We just walked around here with these, guys who you would think are just, natural celebrities, but they're amazing people, man. They're great human beings. They're down to earth. I mean, it's unreal. We just had a great week of golf, and it was honestly a week that none of us will forget.
That's awesome. Now it's funny, a little point you touched on there with like the kids golf, it's the parents. And I feel like that's a reason a lot of people either get out of coaching or get out of helping their kids come up is because of other parents in the industry. So it takes a special person to be able to deal with not only the kid and the parent at the same time, especially in what we all know as junior golf is a very, ever since Tiger came through, it's a very kind of regimented, high pressure tournament, especially when you get to this U.S. kids level and these high end events. So it does take a special kind of person to kind of just let the kid know, hey, I don't care if you shoot 68 or 98 today. I'm going to talk to you like you're my friend. And
exactly.
Yet deal with the parents on the whole other level of like, let me do my work. Let me help your kid succeed. And, we'll work best together, not, as differences,
So it's funny you even say that. So actually, not this past year, but the year before that, I was out practice rounds with my player at the time. And she was a great player. It's just we were out doing practice rounds with random players. And I guess just from the way I approached my player and the other players in the group, and I interacted, and the way I guess handled my job and my duty as a caddy, we were actually in the middle of this torrential downpour. It was the final round actually ended up getting canceled because it had been raining all day. The golf courses were all underwater. There was hundreds and hundreds of kids and families and caddies and golf, everybody just out in front of the main resort in Pinehurst. And I happened to just, one of the parents that I was in the practice round with came up to me. He's like, hey, I want to introduce myself, such and such. I just want to say that you are one of the best caddies I've ever encountered as far as when it comes to being out here with these kids. Like, it's truly impressive how you have managed to just keep their mind off of golf. And he was like, and my right now my daughter, this is her last year in U.S. Kids. Next year she will be going to U.S. Teens. And usually I caddy for her, but I'm going to be honest with you. I've realized that I can't do that. And which is, at least that's the first step So that was all.
It's huge, and
liked this
Isaiah and
guy.
I know that from
Yeah.
our fathers always caddy for us as kids. And it's almost like it's a tough conversation for the kid to have, one, and a tough conversation for anyone around the parent kid combo to have and tell them, hey, maybe you guys aren't the best combo together. Maybe you should try, because you don't want to sound offensive. And from the kid, it's like, man, I really don't want to offend my dad. Maybe, but I want something else. But he got me into this game, so damn it, I owe it to him.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, man. It's obligation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reminds me of on the pro level, Xander Schauffele and his dad. I believe they butted heads when he carried his bag, and he's just like, you know what, you're done. You're done. We can't do this.
See, now I almost understand it from a pro level. You're out there to make your living. So that's an easier conversation than a kid that really has nothing riding on the no, and like everything riding on the, well, he's my dad. So it's an interesting dichotomy for anyone who's really never been around junior golf. I'd almost encourage you to go out and watch these kids play. They're insanely impressive for
really
as young
is.
as they are, especially nowadays. I know
they
it's
don't
changed a
realize
lot.
it. That's the beauty of it.
No, they just
they
have
don't
so much
realize
fun.
how
It's so
good that shot they
authentic.
just hit was.
It's so authentic for them too. They're just so in it, in the moment. You want to talk about like golfers being in the moment. It's kids golf.
It really is.
No, and it's so cool. And Isaiah and I both, as you talked about as well with your interactions with the first tee, we've done some, junior PGA coaching in our past. And just to see those kids, get out there and enjoy it. And maybe you have 4 or 5 of them that are good enough to, compete, but the other half are just kind of out there for the love of it. And it's just awesome to see kids smiling and enjoying the game at that young of an age, because that's where it all starts for a majority of people who play it for a lifetime.
That and little players like Tyler Fortney, Dave Gladhill's little prodigy. There's something really special to be said for, kids that have that natural ability. And like you said, they're able to go out and hit those shots that just fully represent the authenticity of the game. They're completely unaware of the skill set that they have. Their brains aren't polluted with, the money that could be involved or
expectation. Yeah,
or the expectations. Yeah. It's awesome to see the game just being played as a game instead of, something more that it wasn't ever really meant to be. So it's great to hear you say that you love working with the kids, but I know on your profile, it also says that you're aspiring to be a professional caddy on tour. I can tell you my experience, there's caddies that wait in parking lots every week at every Corn Ferry event. Is that something you've ever done? Have you ever gone that route?
Well, that's something that me and her have talked a lot about, because I'm completely aware of that grind that it goes through, especially when it comes to that. And I've honestly actually had a couple offers as far as just being from Pinehurst, caddying at Pinehurst, and my kind of connections in the golf industry since I've hopped into it. It's just obviously it wasn't the right time. I remember the first time I got offered, it was actually with I want to believe her name was Christina Tucker, married to Paul Tucker. He played golf, I believe, with Kevin Streelman over at Duke. Yep. And at the time, though, my son had just been born. I was just getting into the caddy. And so in my own eyes, I didn't think that I hadn't validated that I was tour caddy worthy at all by any means. You know what I mean? I didn't feel my skill set was up to that kind of standards, in my opinion. But obviously they did. But again, it wasn't the right time in my life. But it's definitely something that if it happens, when it happens, I'm there. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? Right. It's not something that, hey, if it doesn't happen, you know what? My life's a failure. That's not the way I look at anything, for that matter, especially when it comes to that. But it's definitely, it's there. It's in the forefront. I've got obviously some things that I've been working on that you guys know about that is happening now. So that is obviously the top of the priority list. But once things kind of get smoothed out with that, it's on.
That's awesome. I mean, there's so many ways, and we've even, before we got on the podcast here, Isaiah and I were talking a little bit about just kind of the grind it takes to be a pro alone from being a caddy. And there's so many ways to attack being a pro as well, whether it's, the Latin America tour, the Corn Ferry tour, the Canadian tour, some mini tours to get exemptions into the Corn Ferry tour. There's so many ways to go about, there's not one track to being a pro. And obviously, by the way, the stories have gone and the way people talk about the caddying industry, there's millions of ways to be a tour caddy too, whether it's through connections, through knowing someone, if your junior golfers end up being a really good, player and end up getting to the pro ranks, or whatever you may have it. There's so many ways to get there. And I think that's half the fun about it, is just not knowing where the opportunity could come from, but kind of always chasing it.
Exactly, man. I mean, like I said, the last, 2 or 3, 4 years, I've caddied anywhere from maybe one of the top 20 to 30, college golfers, or one of the top 20 to 30 junior golfers. The girl that I caddy for in the U.S. team, she's one of the top ranked, junior golfers in Florida. I think if she keeps at it and keeps doing her thing, she is going to be an amazing player and will hands down have no problem making it to LPGA Tour. Sure.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just it's something like you just got to wait and see. But it's exactly the excitement of all of it.
Agreed.
And there's so much potential out there that there's always an option. But aside from caddying those kind of events, how many rounds would you say you typically get in annually at Pinehurst?
Annual. I mean, easily over 200. That's a no-brainer. I would say so. Last year, I think I touched, I want to say roughly 235, somewhere in there. And that was my most to date as far as in a year. But this year, I should easily touch 250 or more. And especially at Pinehurst, I think one of our leading loop counters was 286, something like that. Yeah, man.
Is that double bag or single bag?
It's grinding.
It's everything. It's a mixture. So, I mean, mostly all double bags.
Oh.
So you got some beefy shoulders or what?
Oh yeah, man. I got that Marine Corps back, bro. We do pull-ups. We carry 80-pound rucks. There ain't nothing gonna break this back.
Prerequisite of all caddy rooms just added Marine Corps to their application.
Oh, we would not get any work done, man. Don't do that.
Oh, geez, that's funny. No, that's crazy. And we were looking at some numbers and stuff before we got on here, and something that just blew my mind. And I think a lot of people maybe don't know because they always just think of Pinehurst number 2 and they kind of stop there. But Pinehurst actually has 9 courses on the property. And then the new Cradle course that they just, finished up within the last 12 to 14 months, whatever. What is your favorite walk around Pinehurst other than number 2? Because I know number 2 has such the storied history, that I think we always want to shine light on, the underdog in this podcast. So other than number 2, what is your favorite walk around Pinehurst?
Okay, since I obviously took number 2 away, and I promise you, ever loop with me, you'll get some history you don't get on the videos. So just a little note there, boys. But outside number 2, man, that's tough. As far as caddying, is that what you're asking?
I think overall, just, whether you're playing it or caddying, just overall favorite walk around Pinehurst.
I'm going to keep it honest, man. It's got to be a course 3 as far as when it just comes to just any day of the week. It doesn't matter what the weather's like, whether it be me and the boys just going out and walking number 3. It's a par 68. It's like a mini number 2. The greens are out of this world. It's one of the coolest little short courses you'll ever play. And then as far as definitely looping, man, it's got to be 4. Course 4 is unreal, especially since the new restoration by Gil Hans. You just got to be, you got to see it to believe it. I can talk days and days about 4 and the improvements they made and the shots you can hit into there from all over the golf course and the green complexes and just the routing and just all of his mindset kind of behind it. I've had honestly the luxury of caddying in his group before and hearing his kind of from his own, ideas and his mindset throughout designing the golf course. So for me, that every time I go around the golf course with my players, I always regurgitate that. I literally just the whole time, hey, when I was looping for Gil Hans, he was telling me on why he decided to do this versus this. And, this is his idea of why he did this hole like this. And the routing is because of his idea on this. It really is a lot of fun. And that golf course is unreal. There's spots on that course where you can see 12 holes. It's just the golf epicenter.
That's crazy. And I think it's so such a not misinterpreted, but just kind of misunderstood part of golf, that it's like so commercialized, is people forget that like architects actually designed this course to be played a certain way, or like for shots to have looks from this angle or from that angle. And that's why there's collection areas here in the fairway, or, that's why balls run off a slope into a certain spot, because the architects want you to play that hole a certain way, and it's designed to challenge you in a specific manner. And like to be able, from your end of things, to be able to caddy and just to be able to be in the ears of people and say, well, Gil said to hit it here. So, I mean, it's just, that's a pretty neat scenario. And I think, whether it's, Gil or whether it's Donald Ross on number 3 at Pinehurst, those guys are just absolute legends in their own right. And to be able to like have that insider information has got to be just one of a kind when you yourself is walking through these courses hole by hole.
It's so much fun, man, especially when like you're got an approach shot into a green and your player has zero confidence. You're like, listen to me, trust me. If you just hit that on that left edge of that green, it's going to be inside 10 feet of that flag. And the flag's in the back right or something just absurd, and then they hit this decent shot. They're like, oh my gosh, they're disappointed in it. And I'm just smiling, cheesing. And I just, here you go. Why don't you hold this, give them the putter about 160 yards out. I'll meet you at the green. And they get up there, it's like 10, 12 feet from the pin, and they look at me with their eyes just like, oh my gosh. Like,
just bewildered that it actually
you're
works.
all right, Pat.
Yeah.
Like, you are a good caddy.
That's really funny. We had the same thing on Tuesday's episode with Ben Peters. He caddies out in the West Coast, and he said he had a lot of his players kind of the same deal. He's like, listen, bro, just listen to me, and I swear I will get you around this place, because I've walked when you're working or when you're sleeping or whatever you're doing, I'm here. This is what I do. So
exactly.
Let me get you around this place.
No doubt, man. And I'll always say it's funny because, like, obviously I know the greens and stuff like the back of my hand, but kudos to one of the caddies named John Ross. He's 80-something years old, dude. He will only carry 2 bags. Only. Like, if you give him a single, he will probably give you some choice words.
What a trooper.
He is the man, dude. And he could be talking to the birds over here in the trees, and he could look at his player and say, 2 balls right edge. And that's what it's going to do. He is an absolute just OG.
Wow. Now, I saw another kind of old looper that I wanted to shine some light on here is actually in your Instagram account, Bobby Hill. I wanted to give you the platform since, it looked like a really, really great cause for the people that are listeners out there to maybe get behind, a little bit about Bobby Hill, his story, and kind of what he's going through right now.
Oh, my pleasure. And before I even jump any further into it, first off, kudos to Matt Janella for him just taking his platform and putting it out there for the world to see, especially the Instagram and the social media world, because he honestly is what started the fire under this whole entire thing. And also taking it back one step before that, a couple of caddies, we have a couple of caddies, Jamie, and they know who they are. Unbelievable guys. They're the ones that set up the account for the GoFundMe, and they're the ones who take care of Bobby and go see him on a daily basis and really have been looking out for him ever since this entire thing started happening. So definitely before I begin, kudos to them guys and thank you for all of their help. But yeah, man, Bobby Hill is he's a character, man. I've looked with that guy many times. I remember when I first got to Pinehurst, I got thrown on like team 10. So I was just the bottom of the barrel. I was not an unestablished caddy. I'd been to some pretty prestigious spots, but at Pinehurst, I had no name. And so I would be out on this golf course, and this is obviously a little bit towards the later of Bobby's kind of caddying career. And so he would always come out there and he would take care of the guys who wanted a carton, wanted a single bag or a double bag. But the thing with Bobby is he didn't carry bags. So he always had to have a cart in the fairway. So I'd be out there just humping. It'd be 110 degrees in the middle of July. And I'm just over here double bagging and just dying. And Bobby Hill just be cruising right by me in the cart, just cheesing at me, just waving to you. Obviously he's put in like 60 years of caddy service. So I'm not going to say a word.
Might have earned those wheels, right?
Exactly, right? So I'm just walking. And then I would get to a bunker and he'd be like, don't worry, youngin', I got it for you. And he'd just keep on walking and he'd do his thing. And honestly, you really can't say he would do anything for any of the caddies for sure. He's been there for a long time. So you talk to any Pinehurst caddy, they know guys like Willie and Bobby and John Ross. Those names. They are household names. And it's just unfortunate, things happen to good people, man. And I will say though, even after all of this, he is a caddy in the Caddy Hall of Fame at Pinehurst, which is any caddy will tip the cap to that. That is something that you solidified yourself as a caddy at Pinehurst when you make it to the Hall of Fame. But through it all, he is just spirits up, man. Just talking to Jamie and some of the guys who've been looking after him and keeping in contact with him. His spirits are up. He loves hearing about how much everybody is, rooting for him, and he loves hearing the fact that, just all the help that Matt Janella has brought to him, and some little things like, people are making him quilts and sending letters and just the little stuff, man. It honestly, and especially when he got, the Hall of Fame, that was something that for him, I'm pretty sure that trophy or that plaque is probably sitting right beside his bed right now. So I can say nothing but good things about Bobby.
That's pretty special. And, just for any listener who doesn't know what we're talking about, head on over to Pat Webster's Instagram at bagger_24. That's BAGGER_24. It's right there in a link in his bio. You can find out all the information there. And if you guys want to donate to the cause, I know it would mean a lot to us as our fans, but it would mean a whole lot more to Pat and everybody there in the Caddy Barn down at Pinehurst. So guys, go check that out for sure. It would mean a lot to all of us, definitely in the golf industry.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Yes, sir, man. So moving on from that and getting kind of back into you as a caddy, your profile caught my eye originally because of that logo. And I want you maybe to just walk me through how that logo came about. And, I feel like I always hear that, like you said a little bit earlier, when you were just starting at Pinehurst, you weren't really a household name. And whether it's getting a nickname in the barn and then it kind of resonating with everyone that comes to the resort. And I feel like caddies make their name by getting the nickname and, I want that guy or, whoever it is. So how'd the logo come about, and did it really feed into your kind of mantra as building yourself as a caddy within the Caddy Barn?
Oh, man. So this is actually kind of funny. So I spent a while trying to I had this burning idea of where I wanted to start something. I wanted to start a brand. I wanted to start an association with myself. And I can't draw, man. I have zero artist abilities. I realized that real fast. I can draw like a money sign from like the 1990s. That's about it. And so I hit up my buddy Cody again, and I was like, hey, dude, whip something up for me. So he starts just drawing some random things. And it came with some good ideas, but they were just kind of like, again, cartoonish. Like we both were kind of like, yeah, we can't really run with this. And so one day I'm just on the 18th hole at Pinehurst, and I'm double bagging. It's like a nasty like February day. It was like the first loop I had all month probably. And I looked at my players and said, hey, will you do me a favor? I've been having this idea for a logo for about a week now. I'm going to be walking up the 18th fairway carrying 2 bags. I want you to get me walk just from the backside walking up this fairway. He's like, of course. So I kind of slow down so it wasn't blurry, and I walk nice and slow with good posture and everything, and catches me about 5 or 6 photos with a nice good stride. And from there I was like, oh man, like if I can get this turned somehow into like a logo of some sort, like it'll work. It'll be perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. And then my guy Chef over at the Brody Golf Society, go check them out. They're awesome. It's at Brody Golf Society. They're awesome guys. I was like, dude, I know you do your thing with the pen. Can you take this picture I got right here and just make it into some kind of logo, but keep it the way it looks? And I went bagger across the back of it because at the time, the guy that I was caddying for, he's a realtor in Pinehurst. His name is Doug Knoll. Awesome guy. His family are awesome people. But I was at the time, he just kept calling me bagger all day because we got linked up on Instagram.
Yep.
And so it's so funny. Like he will call the caddy shack and be like, can I get bagger please on this and this date? And they'll be like, who? Like my caddy master will be like, who is that? And then I'm like, that's me, Chris. Like they refuse to accept the fact that somebody calls me bagger. So it's so funny. Like I'll walk in and then my caddy master will be like, hey, bagger, you got a bag. Like, thanks, man. Appreciate you. He's like, did I not know your name?
Thanks for the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, that's cool, man. And it's really funny. And obviously I wasn't the only one whose eye it caught. I saw, a few posts later, Winston actually contacted you, Winston Collection. Those guys, we're actually working with them right now to get some of our own merch out there. They make amazing quality leather goods and stuff like that, but they actually contacted you, reached out and said, hey, we want to do some stuff for you. So what'd they end up, getting with you and producing for you with that brand new logo?
I'll be honest, man. It kind of blindsided me to real. Like it almost sounded, when things are too good to be true. that's what it felt like at first. Because when they contacted me, they're like, hey Pat, first of all, we want to thank you for your service. This and that, and we love what you're doing. We love the logo. We would love to send you some things with your logo on it. So here I am thinking like, okay, cool, man. I'm gonna get a towel. Like I love towels. Caddies love towels. And next thing I know, I get a box with a driver head cover, a 3-wood head cover, alignment stick covers, and the towel. And I was just like blown away, like, 'cause it looked so just awesome. And I was like just absolutely impressed. So ever since then, like I refuse to buy any head cover really from anybody besides them. And then my boys over at Stymie Golf Supply. That is like my only 2 go-tos at all.
That's awesome. Now it's funny to see something that you just, you always had in your head for so long kind of start to come to fruition, and not only just come to fruition, but really kind of explode. And from what I can tell, it's everything you wanted in a logo. And I think it perfectly represents, the way you lived your life day to day. So it's really cool to see.
And another thing with it too, man, it's not just about myself, because I'm not the only one in this caddy industry that double bags or has double bagged. I can guarantee you about 80%, if not more than that, of the tour players started carrying 2 bags. And anybody who's been in the golf industry, I feel like, just have an appreciation for double baggers, man. It's a different beast sometimes, especially where you're caddying at. I can imagine double bagging like Aaron Hills or something crazy like that. But again,
Chambers
it's just,
Bay or some place like that.
It's kind of my nod to all my boys, all my loopers, all my double baggers across the country and the world, man. It's we're a brotherhood, man, and it's something that I think any looper can say the same thing.
Good Lord. And I think, the world was made apparent of that with the Golf Channel's feature on, the Looper film just last night or 2 nights ago. I mean, what a great representation of just kind of, like you said, the greater nation of just loopers out there that all can relate to the same representation of just grinding out there. And especially in the summer heat, in a lot of the southern, most of the United States that do have those resort style courses are warm weather courses. So big head nod to those guys out there for sure.
No
Yeah,
doubt.
that documentary was sick. I watched
it
it was so sick, dude. I was like, dang. And it was cool because they were interviewing caddies from way back then. They were interviewing caddies from over the pond, and you can just tell by your personality that you're just like, you love it, and then you fit for the job because you're out there, you're meeting new people, and you're trying to provide a service and have them have a great time, and it just shows right there in your personality that you do that, and it's just sick to see. And it was just kind of cool how even like when they were doing the guys over, I think it was Carnoustie or one of the courses over there, that like the group of guys, they were just drinking beers on the bench, and they were just telling their stories, man. That's gotta be something. I mean, I bet you got some pretty sick stories just from just some customers and some clients that you take out.
Oh yeah, we got some stories, man.
Yeah.
Throw your best one at us. We'll give you some PG-13.
Yeah. You want my best story?
I want your best, out of the blue, non-typical caddy story that just will give us all some laughs around the Enjoy the Walk podcast.
Oh man, so we all know there's always that one guy, that one member at the club who always will just play by himself and join the clubs, right? It's inevitable. Well, there is this notorious guy. There is not a caddy at Pinehurst who's ever looped at Pinehurst who doesn't know his name. Every single time he comes out, he will join a round, but only if that group has a caddy. He will not play with other members. He will only play with a threesome that has caddies in the group. And his favorite thing is to tell the players basically what to tip the caddy. So I'll never forget it, man. One time I'm out there with this. It's myself and this old school caddy. And I try to be – I'm very good at telling people to kind of, hey, back off without actually telling them to back off. That's one thing we teach in the core is basically I'll tell somebody to go F themselves actually saying it. So my tact is grade A. But I'll never forget, man, this old man. We're walking down, I want to say it was we were walking down 12's fairway. So on number 2, 12's fairway, you know, the short little par forward, little dogleg right, slight dogleg. And I'll never forget the guy mentioned the gratuity to our players. And
on 12, you weren't
on
even halfway
12
through the back 9.
No.
Oh.
I mean, it was, and obviously our players, it was a request, so we already knew what we were getting. There was no gray areas there for us.
Yeah.
And it was definitely not even like 3/4 of what the guy told him to give us. And this old man looks at him, and I will keep this as PG as I can. He said, "I know you're a member, but don't ever look at my player and say another effing word about money again." He's like, "These guys give me $250 a player, and you just told them to give me $45 a piece." He's like, "You have," and he just let into this guy. I'm talking like, I think he finally stopped talking to this player on 14's fairway.
And it started on 12.
Started on 12's fairway.
Woo.
And
That's a great A ass chewing right there.
Needless to say, the member actually ended up leaving, I think, at the end of the 14th hole. So we played the last 4 holes without that member, and I kid you not, we have never laughed so hard in our life. Like, I could not, like, when I was done, like, my cheeks were just sore because it was hysterical. Like, I wish at the time, like, I was, like, in the right mindset to record this entire interaction, because, like, it's something that honestly is just probably the most, like, F-bombs you probably ever heard in a matter of like 2 hole span. You make a 12 on 3 straight holes, and you probably wouldn't say that many F-bombs.
I don't think you've played with me yet.
like I said, that's how excessive.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's one thing to, like, I mean, like you said, and I think a lot of people don't know maybe within the industry that aren't consistently taking caddies or you know, knowing how that gratuity works, but like most of the time it's set up within the resort, if I'm not mistaken, so it's already like a predetermined amount. Like, they're not expected to, if they want to tip you over a predetermined amount, then okay, great, but it's not something that's like going way up and above, you know, an extra unseen charge.
Yeah, it's honestly, let's not get it twisted up. For anybody who takes a caddy, do not expect to give your caddy. You don't have to give your caddy $250 every time. Like, that is something that is from an established relationship, and that is something that, you know, I mean, it's an established relationship. Okay. I think the biggest misconception when it comes to tipping caddies is players just need to just look at the effort, or look at the. I'm a firm believer in, if the minimum gratuity for a caddy is $45, you start there. I am a firm believer in that. You start there. All right? You start there and let that caddy show you what he can do. Let him earn that $100 tip. You know, let him earn that 120 or whatever, 60, whatever more, whatever you feel like is obviously acceptable. But I'm a firm believer, man. Like, when I'm out there and I'm looping, I take my job serious. I have fun with it, but I also am very attentive to my players. I make sure they have the greatest time possible. I have a little higher expectations when I'm out there and when I get tips and stuff like that, just because I know I put forth that extra effort for my players. If I don't do my job, I don't expect a tip that's excessive. I expect the bare minimum tip, as anybody should. And I feel like people who come play golf, they're like, "Oh man, like, if I don't give my caddy $100, like, he's gonna think I'm a terrible player." Like, no, that's not the case. You should expect, you and your caddy should be on the same page. I think there should always be a great conversation between your player and your caddy at some point during the round. It doesn't have to be off the bat or at the end. Some point, like, "Hey, Pat, you know, what would be a good tip for a caddy?" And I would hope that caddy wouldn't be a greedy, you know, POS and give him the right answer, and you know, like the answer I just gave you, where I look, man, you know, the minimum is $40. The way I look at it is, you tip me based off on how well I do today. And if my services, you know, if they equal where you think that I deserve $100 or more, then hey, I will gladly take that. But if they're not, I'm not gonna look at you and tell you, "Hey, give me more money." You know, as long as you get
There's no card in the back of your pocket. Foot wedge, $2. Pin behind the hole, $5.
I'll tell you one thing. I am a firm believer. If you walk slow enough, that ball will be good every time you get there, baby.
I love
That
that.
resort golf lifestyle, baby.
Yeah, you got to
That's
take
sick.
care of them high handicappers, right?
Buddy, you do.
You carry a nice pencil with an eraser behind your ear.
That's a big no. I do not keep score.
Yeah, those guys are out there to enjoy
Yeah,
every inch
absolutely.
of what Pinehurst is.
For
Not the
sure.
score at the end of the day. No
That's
doubt
all
about
I
it.
care about, man. I find more so than not, I can shave at least 10 strokes off my player's round, more than what he could have ever imagined if we don't even look at the scoreboard or the scorecard.
Yeah, and you know what? To go off of that too, because I've never played with a caddy, and I would love to just to have that experience. Because I mean, we enjoy the walk. We walk every chance we get. One day I just want to play a course without the bag on my back, and just have someone to help guide me. Because when I go on golf trips with buddies of mine, I shoot maybe 10 strokes higher than I normally do at my home course because I don't know the track, and I'm out there because I'll admit it. I'll put pressure on myself because, I'm paying this X amount of dollars to go out to this prestigious course and this well manicured course and in hopes to also play well. Well, golf's hard enough as it is. So being able to have someone by your side to help you navigate so you can take that extra time to take it in and actually be there rather than, there's times I've ruined trips because, I got so in my head over how bad I was playing rather than just taking in the moment of where I was at,
exactly.
And that's just all. I need to cross that off my bucket list soon.
And I will bounce right off that. And I'll tell you right now, like any player I've ever had, the same thing. You do want to come there. And if you're going to a resort place that's got caddies, you're not there to lay up, boss. I carry my no laying up towel every single loop. And every time somebody's like, should we lay up Pat here? I was like, man, you see my towel? Did you pay however many dollars to come out here and play Pinehurst number 2 to lay up on a par 5? If so, I'll hand my bag over to somebody else because I don't want that player on my shoulders.
Yeah, shout out to our guys over there at the No Laying Up podcast, man. They've created a mentality that I think is so true, and it's like Dante said, you're paying this much money to go somewhere, have a fun trip. Give it a
who
go.
knows? You
Give it a
might
ride.
get that career shot and it goes in the hole, and you're walking away with an albatross.
It's a story forever. Yeah. Even if it doesn't go in the hole, even if you just make that shot, you tell your buddies 20 years from now, you remember that shot I hit down at Pinehurst? That's where the pros play, man. I got there in 2. Like, it's just it's something to make memories. And I think we've talked about it a little bit, on any kind of buddies trip, you're there to make memories. You're not there to shoot, 62 or, I mean, it'd be awesome. It'd be a hell of a memory.
Yeah, of course.
Throw a course record up there, but 9 times out of 10, it's the little things. It's the shot you stuff to like 2 feet. It's the putt on 17 to close your buddy out, in a better ball match between your other 2 butts. It's stuff like that just makes for the lifelong stories. And I think is key as a caddy to kind of help, provide that opportunity for it to happen.
And when you look at it from, I guess, an outside perspective, if you're going to a resort that has caddies, they're there for most likely a reason. They're not just going to have caddies at your local city course. Like if you're going to play golf with the boys at some resort or some golf trip and there's caddies there, to me, in my opinion, obviously I might be a little biased, but I would take caddies. If I go to Bandon or something like that, I'm going to take a caddy, man. Like that's just facts.
Yeah, it was the same way. My dad and I were able to go out and play Pebble Beach. It was a gift for me as I graduated college, and the first thing my dad was like, well, do you want to take caddies or do you not? I'm like, Dad, it's freaking Pebble Beach. It would not be the same if we did not take caddies.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
It's just it's such a memorable track like that, and I feel like Pinehurst is the same way, no matter what course you're playing, but especially the number 2.
Exactly.
So
and 4. Don't forget
I was
4.
gonna say 4 with that new redesign as well is just, from what I hear, unbelievable.
It's a must play. Yeah,
that's so cool. Now, outside of caddying, you golf yourself. What's golf life like for you outside of caddying? Do you play Pinehurst a lot, or is there more local tracks in the area that you play maybe more than Pinehurst?
I would say when I first started at Pinehurst, I played a majority of Pinehurst tracks. I would say that was kind of about 80% of my rounds. now, I mean, my whole life I've always been a muni kid, kind of a muni golf course kind of guy, man. I try to find that diamond in the rough, that hidden city course, that hidden gem. Obviously, Tot Hill, it's very close to me, and it's a hit, in my opinion, one of the most underrated hidden gems in North Carolina, and hands down the most underrated Mike Strantz golf course. But yeah, man, for me, like lately, I've been hopping around, man. Some good tracks outside of Pinehurst. You can't go wrong Mid Pines. I know you guys have seen my content from Mid Pines. It's a great track, classic. I mean, it just speaks for itself. Even 18th hole alone, people know that just the 18th hole. Southern Pines Golf Club, another classic Donald Ross. They actually just got, I think, new ownership, so it's about to be unreal compared to what it is now. We can see what else. Played Pine Needles is another great one. I actually got to play that for the first time, this past year, and that was unreal. Just absolute immaculate shape. The greens are just some of the best greens you ever play on. And then, yeah, man, I do mix it up, man. I try to get all around the area. I go to Charlotte sometimes and play. That's how I kind of got into the whole bag tour things. I know some of the guys do that. And
Sure.
It's just multiple kind of just – I'm an all-around kind of guy, man. Donald Ross, though, that's my heart.
What place is that?
Donald Ross golf courses.
Mm.
That's awesome. We talk about it all the time. People think of so much of like Myrtle Beach area as like the mecca of golf. So we looked it up earlier. There's over 600 golf courses in North Carolina alone. And like, as I saw you doing there, you just started like in 20 seconds there, we're just rattling off places so close to you, not even, in the greater scheme of North Carolina. I think, so many people forget that, South Carolina is cool for like resort golf, but North Carolina has those hidden gems, man.
I'll be honest with you, man. If you ask any, I consider people like that purists. They would tell you straight up that Myrtle Beach is beach golf. It's not. It's
vacation golf.
There you go. It's not the golfer's destination. It's the person who just wants to get away from the family for the weekend and drink with the boys and go party out by the beach and play some nice golf courses. That's, in my opinion. But again, Pinehurst, if it's not just the 9 courses at Pinehurst, I mean, not to mention Tobacco Road is 25 minutes away. Dude, I could just go on and on. It's unreal.
Yeah. And you mentioned a little bit earlier too, Tot Hill Farm and the bag tour. And I think I'd love to get into that because one of the, newest events for them and yourself as an event planner of sorts was the McEwen Skills Challenge that you just put on last week at Tot Farm. And I'd love to kind of hear, what all that event entailed and how it went and what's, your maybe future plans with McEwen and the bag tour.
Yeah, man. Honestly, first off, just shout out to them. They were honestly so accommodating with just really just helping get the voice out there on social media, especially my boy Andy Fleetwood over at the kind of the owner and the runner of the bag tour, the Below Average Golf Tour. And man, it was, for me, it wasn't even like it was like a dream the whole time. Honestly, when I started this planning this kind of idea where I want to host basically at every quarter skins match. I want to give people who don't have the chance of making the tour the chance to win some money and make a little money for the families or earn some sponsorships. Obviously, that side of things is more so Andy. But for me, the golf tournament side of things is like, I want there to be a tournament where people can have a chance to win money. And they don't have to be a +2 or a PGA Tour player or go through college golf or anything of that sort. They can be a 12 handicap and come out there and get lucky one day and walk and shoot a 62 with their partner and walk away with $800 in their pocket. That would change, somebody's month or just their year if they win, just one tournament win. And it's very affordable. For me, like, again, we thought we might have 15 teams to 30 players. We thought we were going to have, I think, originally we had, 88 commits. So that's 44 2-man teams. On Showtime, tee-off time, we had 80 teams. I like those odds.
Yeah, for a first-time event, not and this is no dig, but not a whole lot of time to plan. It was kind of like a month, maybe, if that.
Yeah,
so
that came out of to me, that came out real quick. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
what's going on? I was like, damn, I want to drive down there so bad right now. I was like,
Yeah, the boys almost
Dude.
packed the sticks and left it and just called it a
Well, yeah.
day, and we're down.
Yeah,
there.
you could have crashed at the pad, boys. Y'all wouldn't have played a hotel or nothing.
dude,
you
we
do
were
round two.
messaging.
That's we're taking you on that.
We were
Got it.
messaging back and forth. Hey, I was like, ooh, I don't know, man.
Honestly, man, like that's a learning curve. I think that for me, that's what that was one, I didn't think about the timing. It was just after the PGA show. I was like, oh man, like people are going to be so caught up in the show that they're not going to really remember or think about it or even be in their mind because they got so much product that's being tossed in front of their face that it's going to get lost in social media. It's not really going to matter. You know, I'm going to have 30 guys show up. And it just started growing and growing and growing. And I'm like, all right, here we go, man. Like, I think this is going to turn into something that I really was ready for, honestly. And it couldn't have asked for a better day, man. It was a gorgeous day. The maintenance crew had the golf course set up in prime time. The pins were just absolutely filthy, but they were manageable. They were scoreable. Obviously, we had 2 63s. We had 3 or 4 64s. Me and my partner came in with a smooth 69, you know, and that's kind of heartbreaking because we missed like a solid 8 birdie putts. Like,
oh man,
it was gross. And we
shouldn't have been so filthy to yourself.
we parred every par 5.
oh man,
Yeah. And then honestly, it couldn't have ended better, man. I'll be real with you. Like, it'd have been fun if 5 different people would have won skins. That'd have been kind of cool. But that was the best part about it was the mystery at the end. I'm sitting here going, I got this big scoreboard. I put my Mod Dukes to work. Got her writing down 18-hole scores for every single group, you know, putting her to work. And, you know, we're going through and like, all right, you know, that hole's canceled out. Everybody's skins canceled out. Bam, bam, bam. We're all through. I'm like, man, do we really have no skins? And then bam, an eagle on par 4 hops up. I'm like, oh, there it goes. There's the winner. And then 2 scorecards later, the same hole, somebody eagles it on a par 4. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I did not see that happen because it's not an eagleable hole. If you look at the scorecard on number 12 at Tot Hill, if you can hit a bomb it, you might drive the green, but it's not really, it's all guarded by water. Like, it's not an idea that you really have. And 2 eagles on the same day, I did not see that happening. And then lo and behold, this guy, Damon Burrow from Raleigh, he does a lot of testing and stuff for Golfers Authority. Definitely go check him out. Him and his partner, they ended up winning this only skin on just a stymie, just nasty, filthy eagle on the par 5 fifth, and they all walked away with $790 in their pocket.
Yeah, that's what I love about it, man, because it goes back to when Dalton and I were down at the PGA show. You know, it's guys like you, it's guys like Janela that get these group of people from all over the country, and you had a pretty solid group of pretty strong Instagram accounts that are all golf related that come, and that's pretty much the essence of it right there. It's just that it's like that meetup. But what I also like about it is ever since I got into the game, I started progressing. I started getting better a lot quicker than I anticipated or thought I would, to where I was like, wow, it'd be fun to compete because I've competed my entire life in sports. So and then you graduate high school or you graduate college, and then it's like you come back to this world, and it's a now what kind of situation. Like, what am I going to do to find that competitive edge again? Like, how can I do that? It's hard to get a team sport together, a bunch of guys, because they're all committed to other different things. Whether golf you can do individually, and then but for me, where I'm at, the tournaments that I really want to get into, I'm not quite there, and they're on the more expensive side, and guys will just eat me alive. So it's like, wow, is it really worth the cash and the money to, go for that? Even though, it'd be great learning experience, but then playing your local muni round or your member game on the weekend, okay, that's cool and all, but it's, sometimes I need a little bit more. And then you have these skins matches, and you have these meetups, and you have these these events, and in which I see big hopes of it getting even bigger, to where that you can go out, you can like you said, you can be a 12 handicap, you can be a 5, you get a couple teams together and whatnot, and you guys can walk out with some extra cash. And that's what drives me sometimes too, because there are people that, like you said, may need that money here and there. So and then you're just playing golf, and that's what it's all about.
And I'll be honest, man, the biggest thing for me about this entire tournament was like, it wasn't about coming out and trying to shoot a score, man. It was like, I told him it very clear. If I catch you grinding over a 3-foot putt for a double bogey, I'm going to probably embarrass you or laugh at you or make fun of you and tell you to keep it moving, because this is not a tournament for you. It is meant to meet people from all around. We had guys from South Carolina, guys from the mountains that had guys from the beach. My homeboy Wes, the salty golfer, he drove 3 hours to come playing that, and which I can't thank everybody enough, man. Like, it was unreal, and like you said, it was affordable. I asked everybody, to kind of pay $40. It was $29 for the round, $10 for the skins, and everybody's extra buck, I threw it right back in the skin spot. How can you go wrong with that? And and honestly, like, shout out to Todd Hill. I was able to work out with them to where I could they charged me a flat rate, so I could walk up to them. Here you go. Here is X amount of money for every single golfer that's out here. They play on their golf. There you go. That's all I need to do with them. The rest is up to me. The rest is they can run their stuff how they want to, and we're gonna go play golf and have fun. They don't have to worry about nothing else. I try to make it as easy as possible for everybody involved at the club. I wanted it to be as smooth for them as possible, so it didn't require them to have to bring in any extra help or do anything outlandish. And honestly, at the end, they said we were one of the best groups that they have ever hosted out there, and that they would love to have us back. And they honestly were just could not believe how smooth everything went.
It's so funny. We talk about it all the time too, and like, golf just needs to make a move to be more affordable, because there you get a lot of your country clubs, and even like in my area, it's a lot of beach resort courses. So it's like $100 or more per round.
Yeah.
And it's like your average Joe that's just wants to get into the game. There's either like your cheap muni or your high end course. There's like just never that happy medium, it seems like. So like, Todd Hill looked amazing. And in February, it just looked so prime. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that we need to start leaning towards, is affordable golf at really nice golf courses, or even better than mediocre, not your Pinehurst or your legendary courses, but even just affordable golf at a really well-kept course. And it seems like you were able to do that. And it's really cool to hear that kind of opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, man, honestly, it was – for me, I still sit here and just kind of think about the whole day. And the first 4 holes, I was a chicken with his head cut off. I honestly, I was on my phone. I think we started out bogey, par. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was something, we didn't even get it going until like the 3rd or 4th hole, like, just because I was just so out of it, just trying to get everything going. But I had so much help, man. It was honestly so awesome. Everybody who sponsored the event, there's so many in the names, so obviously that would take a little bit of time, but they all know who they are, and they made the event, honestly, just more than what I personally ever could imagine. And as somebody who I never thought I'd be playing a golf tournament, that's not something that I ever thought I would dabble in, but it was just an idea that came to me, and I thought it would be a great way to do a collab with Andy in the Bag Tour, because I think what he's doing over there is a great avenue for the amateur game. And I think that it's honestly anybody out there who obviously, I just joined today. You guys are one of my newest sponsors.
Yeah.
So
shout out to our first sponsored athlete,
Let's
part
go.
of the Bag Tour.
Let's go.
Pumped to bring not only you, but hopefully a full team onto the roster for 2020, and to be able to bring you guys some awesome merch to play for, So yeah, guys, check out the Bag Tour. If you don't already know where to find them, it's the Below Average Golf Tour, below_average_golf, or thebagtour.com. Find them in both spots. Reach out to them. Ask how you can get involved. It's a really neat, like you said, Pat, just kind of amateur tour per se, where you play matches for other guys whoever their sponsor is. You play for merch, so you can get some pretty sweet stuff throughout the summer if you win your events, and through the fall. So yeah, what they're doing over there at the Bag Tour is really neat, and it's kind of unprecedented in the scene of amateur golf.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of funny how me and Andy kind of got linked up. I actually looped for him like back in August. He was the winner of a name this beer contest for Pinehurst Brewery. And oh man, I think I'm drawing a blank, but they won the name for called Smooth Grooves. That's what it's called, Smooth Grooves. I want to say that's the name of the beer that they named for the contest, and they won. And Eric Schuster, the master brewer over at Pinehurst Brewery, he gave them this comp round for they all went out and played on number 4, and I looped for those guys, them with Jeremy Lee, my man over at Golf Nation podcast, and that's actually how I met him and kind of got into this. And he's invited me out to a couple of events, and the first one I went to was at Red Bridge Golf Course, like out in just the middle of nowhere towards like Charlotte, and unreal golf track. So much fun. I ended up like going out there just balling out. I ended up losing to one of the guys in a playoff hole, but it was so much fun. Everybody was so friendly, and it wasn't taken too serious. I took it probably a lot lighter than some of the guys, but it was fun, man. And now I've played, I think, 2 or 3 events with the Bag Tour, just kind of hanging out as one of the guys, not a member. And I just nothing but good things to say about it. And like I said, it gives your average Joes a chance to compete for something that's not multi-millions of dollars, and it can cost them their families. It's something that, they don't have to go wake up at 3 a.m. and drive 8 hours to make a qualifier or whatever. And, and they can just go. I could call my buddy up, hey, man, you want to play a match tomorrow? All right, cool. We'll go ahead and let, Andy or whatever know, and we're going to go out and play for this and this. And, you don't get the points for the Bag Tour until you have, purchased your, product, whatever, for the person who won the match. You know what I mean? So it's a great way to hold players accountable for actually buying what they say they're going to do. And it's overall just, I think he's doing on to something really positive here for just the amateur game in itself.
Yeah, so I mean, to fill people in on, maybe a little bit of background behind it too, what he was talking about was, buying your sponsored guys' merch. So basically, Pat is sponsored by us through the Bag Tour, along with the Augusta Golf Collective, Stymie Golf Supply. I'm sure all of our followers have seen all the awesome head covers and stuff that they're making out there, and also sponsored by Cloud9 Golf. So basically, Fellow Looper, no doubt about it. Out Pinehurst, correct?
Yes,
if I'm not
sir.
mistaken. Yeah. Man, you guys are brothers down there.
Yeah, we are.
I love that. So basically if Pat were to win his event, his opponent would be able to buy him something off of his 4 sponsors for his win, pretty much. And it goes like that. Vice versa. If Pat were to lose, he'd buy whoever his opponent's sponsors were, he'd buy him something off their website. So, out of their merch collection.
Something you agree upon prior to the match.
Yep. So it's just real neat to, not only for us as a budding brand here to kind of just get into the scene with amateur golfers that we want to support. And that's the kind of style that the Bag Tour is putting on of what we like in golf. It's that kind of lighthearted, yet playing for something a little bit more than, just $1 or $2. It's the lighthearted, nature of golf that we love to support. And I think it's a really neat thing they got going there.
I agree completely. It really is. Shout out to Andy, Bag Tour, Blow Ridge Golf.
Yep, no doubt about it, man. Andy's got a great thing going there, and I think we just appreciate them letting us be a part of it, and we're looking forward to what not only maybe some exclusive bagger stuff that we can kind of provide for some stuff down the road, but just overall some packages for the Bag Tour that everyone can buy and get their hands on. So we're pretty excited to see what we can do in the future.
Likewise, man. I'm ready to go ahead and get it started.
No doubt, man. Well, hey, Pat, thanks again for joining us. If people didn't catch where they can find you on Instagram, where can people find you?
Bagger_24.
And on Pinehurst any day of the week. If you guys go down and take a trip, whether it's Bagger or Cloud9, hit those guys up. Get them to take you a loop around Pinehurst. I can guarantee you they're the best in the game. Pat, we appreciate the time tonight, man, and go enjoy that walk out there, all right?
My fellas, I can't appreciate y'all enough. Thank you so much for having me on. Bagger out.
Sure.
That's the stuff. One shot at a time.